Hello. What happens if a successful gamer, relentless against opponents in virtual battles, is placed in a real-life bandit mess? Today, we'll step into the territory of ruthless Asian crime and see how an ordinary esports athlete fights it. The movie begins with a battle under a monologue. The main hero leads his squad into combat. The commander, at breakneck speed, drives a pickup into a skyscraper, jumps out, and shoots down nearly an entire army. The guy gradually moves up the floors, systematically eliminating the enemy. However, one of the fighters unexpectedly gets surrounded. Everyone advises the leader to abandon him, but he heroically leaps to save the careless one. In mid-jump, he throws a grenade and, with a few bursts, takes out the shooters. Save the fat guy, Destroyer. We'll catch the one in trouble. Time to return to the mission. In the end, the team successfully fights back and advances toward their goal, a bomb on the top floor. The commander sacrifices himself so the hacker can disarm it. The final shot hits the hero right in the temple. The bomb is disarmed. But suddenly, it turns out the battle and the heroic death took place only in virtual reality. The team discusses the victory and praises their leader for his courage. This is Quan. The guy is invited to a party, but his empty wallet doesn't agree with the plan, so the gamer postpones the meetup. Suddenly, his phone rings. Quan's mother asks him to come home and turn off the stove. The woman works in a hospital, caring for the elderly, and plans to stay late at the clinic that evening. She asks the young man to abandon his entertainment. The mother clearly disapproves of her son's passion for virtual battles, though she speaks warmly of him in a conversation with a patient. Quan doesn't listen and stays at the internet cafe. Unexpectedly, another call rings out nearby, but it's not on his phone. The hero picks up. Internet cafe? I forgot my phone there. Can you deliver it? At first, Quan refuses, but the girl offers a hefty reward. The guy agrees and heads to the specified location. When he approaches the right apartment, the door is open. Quan rings the bell, but no one responds. Then the hero steps over the threshold and enters an empty apartment. Behind the translucent glass of the shower, he sees a girl. She asks the guest to leave the phone upstairs and take the money there. Quan goes up, leaves the phone on the bed, takes the cash, and leaves. Before going, he tells her exactly where to find the phone and warns the careless stranger that leaving the apartment door open is a bad idea. The next morning, police burst into Quan's home. Without much ceremony, the officers pin the gamer face down on the floor. You're under arrest for the rape of a minor and murder. Blood appears on Quan's hands from somewhere. In the far corner of his room lies a bloody knife. The guy stares at it all in shock, unable to understand what's happening. Amid disapproving shouts and jabs from an angry crowd, the suspect is taken to the police station. News reports talk about him. It turns out Quan was once part of the national Taekwondo team, but was kicked out after a fight and got hooked on virtual entertainment. At the station, the gaming enthusiast is interrogated. They quickly present him with evidence and bombard him with questions. His mother isn't allowed to see him. They pin the murder on Quan, as his fingerprints and other traces were found at the crime scene. Quan, of course, denies his guilt. Meanwhile, his mother tries to convince people her son is innocent, but to no avail. No one believes her flyers. All DNA tests point to Quan's guilt. The gamer's mother goes to a lawyer named Min Jong-san and tries to convince the attorney that her son didn't kill anyone. But the bureaucrat doesn't listen and pays no attention. The only advice the lawyer gives is to admit guilt as soon as possible. The next scene shows the trial. As evidence, the prosecutor presents a video from a camera showing the hero leaving the building where the victim lived. After Quan allegedly raped the minor twice, he inflicted 31 stab wounds on her. The courtroom gasps upon hearing the gruesome details. Quan sits in complete confusion, trying to deny his involvement, but not a single person listens. They call him addicted to video games, to the point of being unable to distinguish reality from fiction. The judge ignores the arguments of the lawyer and the accused, believing Quan committed the murder and rape of a minor, and sentences the gamer to life in prison. Quan will be held in a maximum security prison with murderers and other dangerous criminals. The video game enthusiast is transported to the prison by bus. He doesn't want to get out, but a sedative injection in his neck knocks him out. Quan wakes up on the cold floor of his cell. The doors open, and he heads to the cafeteria. There, he grabs food and sits at a random table, looking to put mildly, lost. During a walk, the hero keeps to himself and doesn't approach anyone. The inmates first just watch him, then grab him and drag him to an interrogation by the local kingpin. Kwon tries to explain what happened, but they beat him. The guards pay no attention to what's going on. The hero lunges at the leader in a speech, but they pull him back and beat him again. The kingpin says Kwon should stop denying his guilt. Finally, the guards intervene, though their baton strikes land on the main hero. Kwon is thrown into solitary confinement. A month later, the former gamer returns to regular prison life. Kwon walks down a corridor and notices inmates following him. He starts running, but falls into a trap. Armed with a shiv, the henchmen of Madaksu drag him to an empty warehouse and pin him face down on the floor. The man says he can't stand it when people don't show him proper respect and promises to demonstrate the consequences of such behavior. What happens next is left off screen. The guy is bloodied, his veins torn by teeth. Sometime later, Kwon's mother is allowed to visit, along with the lawyer. She gave interviews to many magazines, and thanks to this, your alibi, I think, will soon be proven. They're preparing for an appeal. The mother also tells Kwon he must pull himself together and keep living so he can one day leave prison. She promises to find a way to get her son out from behind bars. The next day in the prison cafeteria, Kwon eats alone, standing by the wall. After lunch, Madaksu and his goons beat him again. This happens repeatedly. One day, an old man sits next to Kwon and shares his food. He says the guy doesn't look like a killer and thinks Daksu just wants to break him. But Kwon doesn't break under the kingpin's pressure. He keeps ending up in solitary, taking punches to the face, but now he trains and takes the hits with more dignity. During another prison job, Daksu's gang tries to ambush him. But this time, Kwon is well prepared. He made a slingshot and improvised arrows from makeshift materials. The hero successfully fends off the attackers and eventually faces the kingpin himself. The man walks around the room with a huge wrench. Kwon fires an arrow at him, lands a few blows, and knocks him out. The inmates disperse, but the guards arrive. The hero is taken to the visitation room. However, only the lawyer is there. Kwon's mother isn't. Why did this happen? To bury her. We need your signature. She tried to help her son as much as she could, but couldn't bear it, and took her own life. At least, that's what the death certificate says. Desperate and exhausted, he falls asleep in his cell. The hero is devastated by the news of the death of his closest person. Morning comes, and the guy goes out for a walk again. Daksu's gang wants to attack him, but the guards intervene. Then the bandits start a riot and take down the wardens. Alarms go off across the territory, but Kwon ignores them and walks aimlessly amid the sirens and surrounding chaos. At that moment, Daksu sneaks up from behind with a shiv. The guy notices him at the last second. He's holding a sharp object too. With a swing, he strikes Daksu in the cheek. A warden notices, points a gun at Kwon, and demands he drop the weapon. Then the hero stabs himself in the stomach with the sharp object and collapses. He's taken to the clinic with other wounded inmates. Kwon opens his eyes and prepares to escape. At this moment, we're shown the old man again, who sits nearby. He had tipped Kwon off on how to create a chance for escape. I promised my mother I wouldn't stay a rapist. Kwon swiftly and methodically knocks out all the escorts. The last ones left are the driver and his guard in the front seat. The former gamer threatens them with a syringe of sedative and demands the keys. The driver turns the wheel, and the vehicle crashes into a concrete barrier. Kwon manages to grab the keyring mid-air, frees himself, and literally tumbles out of the speeding van. In one of the settlements, he finds civilian clothes and evades pursuit. On the highway, Kwon sees a couple next to a broken-down car. He helps fix the engine and asks his new acquaintances to give him a ride. They gladly agree. The couple is heading to the airport to fly to China. The car is stopped at a checkpoint, but is quickly let through. Kwon skillfully hides from the police in the back seat. At the airport, the couple warmly says goodbye to Kwon and gives him their car. They bought it for a steal to travel comfortably. Kwon returns to the city. By now, he's been wanted for 2 days. His first stop is his lawyer's office. He waits for the attorney, apologizes for the unexpected visit, and convinces him to shelter him because the gamer has nowhere to go. The lawyer initially wants to call the police, but then changes his mind and makes coffee for himself and his guest. Kwon tries to find out the contact of someone who could provide him an alibi. The lawyer says it was a prank by some kids. In reality, no one was ready to vouch for Kwon. His mother found out and was deeply upset for giving her son false hope. According to the lawyer, this pushed her to a desperate act. He hands Kwon beads. The hero had once given them to his mother, and she loved them dearly. Then the lawyer advises the guy to escape through the window. Kwon gets to a computer and Googles all the details of his case. He checks his email and notices a mysterious video in one of the messages. In it, the host talks about inconsistencies in the case. The main evidence against Kwon is a dashcam recording showing the gamer entering the house where his alleged victim lived. However, many other videos that could shed light on what happened mysteriously disappear halfway through. Yet someone keeps steering the case in a direction that benefits them, where Kwon receives an undeserved conviction. It turns out an anonymous hacker sided with justice. They established that Kwon was in the victim's apartment for only 3 minutes. Physically impossible to commit what he's accused of in that time. Moreover, among the victim's contacts is a suspicious man she met at a club the night before, but no one even questioned him. The version with an unemployed gamer who lost his mind suited everyone. Kwon leaves the cafe and plans to meet the hacker the next day at a diner. Suddenly, a silent girl sits at his table and hands him a ringing smartphone. Another girl answers Kwon, introducing herself as the mysterious hacker. She says she altered her voice to sound male in the video, so no one would recognize her. She calls Kwon Commander. Kwon gets into a car with the first girl and arrives at an unknown location. It's the hacker's base. Her name is Beard. Sits somewhere. It's safe here. The girl orders groceries online and can't communicate in person. Years of isolation seem to have taken their toll. Kwon's potential savior prepares lunch for two, and the pair eats heartily. Mid-meal, Kwon starts crying. His companion calls and says a squad will arrive soon, and their commander shouldn't greet them in tears. At that moment, the doorbell rings. 3 people enter, sit at the table, and thank the hostess for the meal. Kwon meets them with a frying pan, ready to attack. One of the newcomers asks the hero to sit, and says they've all gathered to help him. He introduces the group. They're Kwon's teammates from one of his games. An unemployed guy in a cap is a master hacker and support player. Destroyer, in a red shirt, is a sniper in-game but a film and special effects expert in real life. The long-haired one with a shotgun is the oldest in the game, a professor of architecture in reality. Meanwhile, the police interrogate Kwon's lawyer. The attorney reveals nothing and leaves. He requests all materials on the hero's case from his informant. From the data, he learns about Madaksu. The team gets to work. The hacker searches the internet for details about what happened to Kwon and shares everything with her teammates. She discovers that many pieces of evidence in this case appeared suspiciously easily. She also finds the overly swift arrest of Kwon dubious. In one of the recordings she uncovers, she spots a suspicious truck with a fake brand on its body. It was parked near the victim's house for about an hour. The strange vehicle appears in other unsolved cases too. The team decides to search for it at a junkyard. Kwon takes Destroyer and finds a truck. People in suits are milling around it. When they leave, the hero follows their car, leaving Destroyer to watch the truck. The car stops in the courtyard of a house. An endless stream of people with bags enters it. Kwon seizes the moment and peeks inside the building. Clearly, someone was killed there, and a group in hazmat suits is photographing the scene and wiping away all evidence. Kwon records the entire cleanup on video. In the end, the place looks pristine, as if nothing happened. At that moment, Destroyer calls Kwon. He sees the suited people loading a huge cello case into the truck's bed and rebranding it. The commander orders his teammate to follow the suspicious van. Destroyer tracks them to a massive skyscraper. Kwon arrives, but the guys can't get inside. The security is too tight. The team plans a nighttime raid. The old man and the master disguise themselves as technicians and infiltrate the skyscraper. Destroyer, with Beard's help, cuts the alarm wires. She coordinates the operation from her hideout. The old man distracts the guards while his teammate connects to the main server. The master barely manages to download the necessary data. Then Kwon sneaks into the building, using codes his accomplices obtained. The hacker jams the cameras. The hero makes his way to an apartment on the 13th floor and finds a white case. Inside is the body of a famous TV actor. The guys report that guests will arrive soon. Kwon closes the case and hides. Before his eyes, the apartment is staged as a crime scene with the right fingerprints and other evidence. In a glass container nearby, a body floats in liquid, obviously preventing decomposition. The hero's lawyer watches the scene via cameras. The next morning, a news broadcast reports that a popular actor was killed by some lunatic. The next scene takes place in the lawyer's office. His dark-haired assistant places a flash drive on the table. Only 173 unemployed and fired. The lawyer asks her to wait for the right moment and goes into a secret room. It opens only after a scanner reads the man's face. Inside, the lawyer sits at a huge glowing table. Hundreds of photos of different people appear on it. He inserts the flash drive, and the entire floor beneath his feet turns into a massive screen. Among thousands of portraits, he selects a girl and a guy, then calls a journalist, urgently asking her to publish something. The reporter refuses. The lawyer slams the floor in frustration and ends the call. Next, we see a team of fake delivery workers employed by the lawyer. They arrive at the chosen young woman's home and say they've brought a promotional gift. Moments later, the girl passes out. The criminals take her hair, fingerprints, and other biometric data, then send it to the center. Special gloves are made from the fingerprints to fake touches. These are sent to the famous actor's house to mark the necessary items. Meanwhile, the hero's team continues their investigation, trying to uncover the roots of these mysterious murders. The commander asks Beard to search for the girl by her fingerprints, believing they're trying to frame her. Quan took an item from the staged murder apartment and tasked Beard with lifting prints from it. The search soon reveals the victim's address. The team finds her at a hair salon. The old man sits nearby and swipes her phone. Suddenly, an enraged giant bursts in, drags her outside, beats her, and demands she repay a debt. Quan drives him off. The next day, the commander eavesdrops on the young woman's conversations. Her mother scolds her for not having money for her brother's needs. The conversation ends in a fight. At Beard's place, everyone's asleep, but Quan keeps monitoring. He hasn't slept or eaten all night to avoid missing anything important. He suspects Beard was the one who tried to help his mother, but his friend modestly brushes it off and changes the subject. Suddenly, the potential victim's phone, which the commander is closely watching, gets a call. A female voice on the other end says they found her wallet and are ready to return it. Quan immediately recalls how he was drawn into this mess. He heard the same voice. Beard says they need to call the person trying to frame the girl and keep them on the line for 3 minutes to trace them. Quan picks up the phone, but the horrors of recent months flood back, and the commander freezes. The hacker takes over, activating voice modulation and talking. This helps uncover the address. Quan tries to save the girl and finds her on the street, but a motorcyclist in all black snatches her from under his nose. This is the one delivering fake fingerprints to crime scenes. The commander quickly jumps into his car and starts a chase. Police get on his tail. At the critical moment, the hero's old jalopy stalls in the middle of the highway. Cops surround him, but a truck speeds through their formation. It doesn't help Quan. He's kidnapped, not by the police, but by Madaksu and his accomplices. He comes to tied up. The criminal boss starts shooting tiny darts from a homemade slingshot at the hero. The lawyer watches and smirks. The kingpin fires dart after dart into the commander's body, aiming to leave a scar on his cheek before killing him. Beard calls the police, tipping them off about the building where Quan is held. She poses as his hostage, saying she'll be killed soon. SWAT surrounds the place, but is ordered not to intervene. Beard pretends she can't hold out much longer on the phone. The police decide to storm the building. They grab everyone inside, but Quan manages to escape. Beard picks him up in an old car. She barely knows how to drive. Doxa catches up and threatens to kill Quan. The hero skillfully evades pursuit, but Beard finds a tracker on him. The bug was hidden in the beads Quan once gave his mother, and now keeps as a memento. Tears in his eyes, the commander tosses the item out the window at full speed. Madaksu's bosses call him, ordering him to find Quan. If the criminal succeeds, he'll gain freedom. If not, he'll go to prison. At the base, the team eats dinner. They suspect the lawyer orchestrated everything. The master tinkers with gadgets. Quan asks him to build a drone. The mechanical bird is ready, and the team takes it on their mission to the lawyer's office. The drone flies to his window and records what's happening. A laser microphone picks up sound through the glass. The lawyer's assistant is on the phone. From the conversation, it's clear both are involved in the chaos. But the team can't believe all these operations are run from a small office. The drone circles the building and scans it with a special beam. Damn, no way. It's a giant safe. Beard tries to hack the server and steal data, but the security is too strong. At that moment, the lawyer gets a call. At the crime scene he carefully staged, his photos have appeared. The fake evidence is destroyed. Min Jongsan and his assistant thoroughly inspect the place. All their sinister work is ruined. The lawyer decides to start over, including collecting new biomaterial from victims. The scheme's clients are unhappy with his work and tell him so directly. The team successfully disrupts their enemy's plans and upgrades Kwan's jalopy with a powerful new engine. The guys master various tactics, sabotaging the lawyer's operations across the board, blowing up his vans, stealing fake evidence, and more. Min turns on the TV, where a report airs about the discovery of the actor's body. Next to it, the framed victim wakes up, confused. But Kwan managed to swap her for the daughter of the scheme's mastermind. Now the lawyer is in deep trouble. He's massively screwed up. Then his phone rings. It's the commander. The lawyer, crazed by impunity, thinks he can spin any story to his advantage. He threatens Kwan. The lawyer turns and sees his assistant has been knocked out. He runs to his safe room, but Kwan is waiting inside. The hero brutally beats the one who framed him. Then he accesses his enemy's computer and finds all the files on his case. Suddenly, the main villain comes to. Kwan nearly kills him, but stops. You must answer. The commander realizes his team needs help. Madaksu has captured the master, Destroyer, the long-haired one, and Beard, threatening to kill them. Kwan wants to copy the data for his exoneration onto a flash drive and rush to their aid, but it'll take half an hour. He threatens the lawyer with death, but the man insists even that won't stop the criminal kingpin. Kwan knocks out the lawyer and drives to his friends. Doxa shoots at the long-haired one multiple times and misses. Beard lunges at him, and they drag her away. The master tries to talk Doxa down, but the room's lights suddenly go out. In total darkness, Kwan takes down the entire gang, saves his team, and runs with them to the car. Madaksu and his men give chase, but get stuck in an alley. An army pursues Kwan. The commander, with Fast and Furious-style tricks, outmaneuvers all his pursuers. The lawyer broadcasts fake news claiming the commander will soon be caught, and that he kidnapped the mastermind's daughter. The report exposes the hero's entire team, portraying them as a group of psychos. The chase continues. The satisfied mastermind calls the lawyer, celebrating. But Kwan isn't so easily defeated. At one point, he drops his team off at a multi-level parking garage. The lawyer orders Madaksu to kill them. The team infiltrates a TV station and holds it so Beard can air her report. The commander, master, long-haired one, and Destroyer distract the pursuers in an epic fight. No, not now. Suddenly, Madaksu kidnaps Beard. The whole team is pinned down by arriving police. But Kwan tails the villain. During the chase, he grabs Beard through the window in his car, while Doxa crashes. Police cars follow. At the end of the road, Kwan steps out of his turbo jalopy with his hands raised. The lawyer gloats, but not for long. All this time, the data was being copied onto the flash drive Kwan left behind. At that moment, Beard broadcasts her report across all channels. It reveals how the mastermind, a wealthy businessman, covered for his daughter, who killed a drama star. It also exposes the lawyer and his assistant's roles in the scheme. Kwan was framed to hide the crime of some important figure's rich kid. In the end, the commander celebrates his victory. He remembers his mother.